Now it's late August, and Jeff and Jake and I are headed west on Interstate 94. Our final destination, North Dakota, where the archery season for deer is scheduled to open in just a couple days. The three of us make this trip every year, and it's become part of our routine to stop at the Shield store in Fargo to take a much-needed break. Of course, while we're here, we just have to check out the hunting department. And it seems we always find a way to have a little fun, too. But before heading out, our final stop is always at the customer service counter where we purchase our non-resident North Dakota archery licenses.
Hi everybody, it's our first hunt of the year for In Pursuit Television. We're here in North Dakota. It's opening day of North Dakota season. Open at noon today. It's Friday, August 29th. After a little bit of trials and tribulation here, we're on a little alfalfa field. It's about 40 yards across. It runs for a couple hundred yards here. It's about 75, 77 degrees, something like that today. It's supposed to cool off good tonight, so we got a good chance. We're here about 3 hours before dark. Should have some action, so we'll keep you tuned.
About 30 minutes before dark, a doe and two fawns walk out to the alfalfa field. They're joined a few minutes later by this young buck. Judging by the doe's less than friendly behavior, I'd say it's obvious that she wants the spike to find his evening meal in another part of the field.
Well, I think that wraps up our first night of the 2008 bow season. Our first day here in North Dakota. Had a little bit of action. Pretty encouraging. One little buck. Lots of mosquitoes. So we're going to get down and formulate a plan for tomorrow. We'll see you then. Second night in our good spot here. We came in today and moved the blind. We went from a northwest wind to a southeast wind, so we moved the blind on this fence line a little bit, brushed it all in. Got it looking pretty good. We've got a batch group of bucks coming across this wheat field, going to an alfalfa field over to our right, so we think we got them somewhat pegged. Wide open country here. It's just little tree lines, not big enough to get stands in, and wide open cattail marshes and stuff, so we've been playing cat and mouse with these bucks a little bit, and southeast wind is actually one of the best winds we can get here, so stay tuned. It's about 6 o'clock. We got about 2.5 hours, maybe a little over till dark, so stay with us. We'll see what happens.
Jeff's observations from the past couple days have shown him that just before stepping into the alfalfa field, almost every one of the whitetails he's been seeing have stopped to feed on this lone strip of windrowed wheat. Hopefully, the shooter bucks he's been watching will stick to the pattern and do exactly what these two deer are doing. And then, just as camera light is beginning to fade,
Nice shot. Hit him, man. Hit him. Well, you guys saw what happened there. I had a buck come in right at the last thing there. Actually, had more than one buck come in. We had two little bucks out in front of us. all of a sudden Matt whispered to me there was 3 more bucks coming across the field at a trot, and there was a shooter in the back. The back buck was a shooter, so I was getting ready for him, and I was just peeking out of the shooting hole head in the blind there, and I couldn't even see the bucks coming. All of a sudden, another big buck walks out of the fence line we're sitting in. He ran out about 30 yards. I drew back as he's trotting out. He turned broadside, communicated with Matt which deer it was. He got on him and gave me the go-ahead, and then put a shot on him. Nice shot. We watched him run over to the next tree line. He stood there for a long time. I watched him even past the camera there for quite a while until I couldn't see over there anymore, and he hadn't gone very far. But we're gonna leave him go overnight, and we'll come in the morning and bring a couple of the guys with us, and we're gonna go find him. So we'll take you along. Well, here we are next morning after I shot the buck out of the ground blind here in North Dakota, and after a long extensive search here, we found him. He dropped in this jungle of a tree line behind us. We pulled him out to the edge here, and we're gonna give you a look at him. This is why we came to North Dakota, everybody. Great, great velvet buck. This is a buck of many firsts for me. It's my first North Dakota deer, my first buck I've ever killed out of a ground blind. First buck for In Pursuit Television, and my first velvet deer. So I'm very, very happy with him. Long sleepless night. Most of you have been in that situation one time or another, but this one had a happy ending. You're watching In Pursuit Television.
Well, as my brother Jeff said, that North Dakota buck provided a lot of firsts for him. And I'm extremely proud of Jeff because he put all the pieces of the puzzle together to take his first velvet deer. And that deer is a focus of this week's Zooming In.
Zooming In is brought to you by Reconyx, see what you've been missing. And by Nikon, the trusted name in optics.
The area in North Dakota where Jeff arrowed the velvet 9-pointer is a perfect example of the type of habitat found across much of the state. The terrain could best be described as flat, featureless, and with the exception of shelter belts, pretty much treeless as well. But as Jeff quickly discovered, the resident whitetails have adapted well to this open environment. A couple evenings prior to his successful hunt, Jeff had used his Nikon spotting scope to watch a bachelor group of bucks as they left their bedding area in this thick cattail marsh. After spending a few minutes staging near the edge of the marsh, the bucks headed across these 2 harvested wheat fields, crossing through these 2 tree lines on their way to a lush alfalfa field located here. Interestingly, just before reaching the field, the bucks stopped to eat on a single windrow of wheat laying right here. Based on his observations, Jeff and cameraman Matt Tanney went back the next morning and put up a Yukon Tracks ground blind here along this brushy fence line that borders the east side of the alfalfa field. The windrowed wheat lay a mere 15 yards straight out in front of the blind. As Jeff noted during his hunt, the southeast wind direction was perfectly suited for the blind's location. The footage from the hunt clearly showed that the first group of deer did exactly what Jeff had predicted. They walked through this row of trees and made a beeline directly to the windrowed wheat. A big velvet 10-pointer that was trailing the group appeared to be headed for a date with Destiny. But before the 10-pointer got within range, the 9-pointer suddenly ambled into view from the opposite direction and stopped broadside just 30 yards from the blind. Fortunately, Matt was able to make the necessary adjustments with his camera and got the 9-pointer center frame just before Jeff released an arrow. After the hit, the 9-pointer ran to this tree line and stopped. Jeff and Matt watched the buck until darkness fell before sneaking out of the area. We recovered the trophy whitetail the next morning right here in this thick shelter belt. Congratulations, brother, on your first velvet buck. Hey, make sure you tune in next week to see where on earth we'll be zooming in. See you here.
Zooming In has been brought to you by Reconyx and by Nikon.